Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Another Cowboy Corner episode with Austin Taylor. Austin, first episode this year, coming off of a win. So, what's up, man? What's up, my friend? How we doing?
Hanging in there again, like I just said. Bye weeks are tough in this college football season, but at least we got some Sunday night football to look forward to. So excited about that for sure.
Absolutely. Big game, Pittsburgh Steelers. They're coming off of I would say, rather surprising loss to the Colts, considering how that game played out. But they're still 3-1, one of the best defenses in the league, and we're going up there. We'll discuss and chop it up about that matchup. But coming off of the Giants' victory on Thursday Night Football, there was a lot of, hey, we'll get into how we played, but the bigger storyline out of that is with what we've lost in that game, what we've lost coming into the game, and still the struggles we seem to have personnel wise, looking at upgrading the talent, right? People talking about Devontae Adams, potentially pursuing that resource for the offense, other big names that are popping up. Where do you stand on, especially within this period of time, you're 2-2, heading into probably the toughest stretch of the season? How do you approach that with in terms of roster management?
Yeah, I think you're still way too early in the season to quote unquote tank. You haven't lost enough games. You're not like in an 0-4 situation. I kind of look at Devontae like this. Again, I heard Troy Aikman this morning on the ticket talking about, it's all about what Will McClay and Jerry Jones think is the best fit and if they think their guys are enough. Well, no disrespect to Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, and the rest of the supporting cast, but if you could add a guy like Devontae to support CD and Ferg, especially with their downfield stuff, I mean, he speaks for himself. He's an elite wide receiver.
And he
And
grew
then
up in
again,
McCarthy's system too.
yeah, 100%. And then, even that conversation kind of got me thinking, when's the last time the Cowboys have made a big splash trade? And I'm talking big, which this would be big. This would break the NFL for a day. It would be all the national headlines and talk shows. When's the last time we've done this with a big name receiver? I
It
mean, you
was
got to go
Amari,
back. Yeah, I was gonna say,
2018.
yeah. I mean, it's been
2018. It's
it's
happened. I think it's happened twice, right?
To.
Well, so three times. But was T.O. mid-season? Or
I don't even remember.
I
I
don't
know
think he
he's
was mid-season.
We used to have a history of just getting these
It
guys like
was
a
Roy
Keyshawn.
Williams. Roy
Yeah,
Williams was the big one. That scarred them in a lot of ways. But that
yep,
was like two first rounders. So Roy Williams was one. The most recent big one was Amari,
yep,
which is probably the biggest, my most infamous video I've ever made on YouTube. Was why I was just shitting on that trade,
yeah,
saying how stupid it was,
yep,
and boy was I wrong on that,
yep,
in terms of his impact. So,
yep,
but that was the last time they did a big mid-season one to try
yep,
to get a weapon. So
sure.
you know, so you're basically on the side of, they've really got to look, be honest with themselves about what they have and don't have.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it last week, and I know this might be extreme saying, but like you have 1.5 guys that can get open consistently against man coverage. Like I get it, there's a couple guys that are going to make plays here and there, but I think of it like this: 2-minute drill. Got to have a drive to win the game. You can't throw to CD 6 straight times. I mean, maybe you can. It'd be abysmal defense if you could. But in the NFL, you have to have options. And I just think he would be a no-brainer option. But my Cowboys scarred heart has me believing he's going to go to Kansas City or something like that. So
Right.
who knows?
Yeah, that's the other thing. A lot of teams have needs that are clear contenders, right? I mean, also think that shows you how tight the margin is in the league overall.
Look at
Speaking of
Kansas City. They could be
is
0-4,
right, absolutely, they
but they're
could be,
not.
and I mean, some of those they're literally coin flip games that
Yep.
they just keep coming out to their side.
Yep.
I look at teams like, I mean, this is a perfect segue into the Giants game. A lot of people that I've talked to, Cowboys fans, are disappointed by our performance, and oh, we beat them by a margin of, 70 something points, 72 points last year and all this type of stuff. And now we only beat them by 5. And it's like, that wasn't a bad football team, in my opinion, that we beat outside of the quarterback. I mean, when you look at how their roster has been constructed and what they're good at, where they have some youth, I thought their young, the defensive coordinator did an excellent job that they got. Like, the Giants are not a bad ball club in terms of what I saw watching them on
Not from what
Thursday.
they've been. They're way better than what they've been.
So when you look at assessing a win, especially in a game where you lose a Micah Parsons, you lose a DeMarcus Lawrence, Brandon Cooks is ineffective at the time. We don't know why. Now we're knowing his injury. And it felt like Dak and CD and, honestly, the defense, a lot of people stepping up on the defense. Mozzie Smith has his best game of his career. They were the ones to end up bringing this thing home and making it to where we didn't have to, have that 1-3 conversation. But ultimately, like, how do you view this going into the Steelers game?
Yeah, I
In terms of
mean,
value?
yeah, I mean, 2-2. I mean, of course, you would probably like to be 3-1. I guess you're talking record wise. I mean, you have to like where you're at. I know it's a tough stretch coming up, and we'll get into the X's and O's of the Steelers. But I mean, to answer your question, I I guess I like where we're at. I mean, I feel like the Ravens game wasn't as close as the score indicated, truly. And I also think the Browns are a bad football team looking at it now. I know we were all kind of like, okay, maybe this Cowboys team has got a little juice we've seen the last couple of years, but
Right.
um, I don't know, 2-2 with, a good chance to win. Again, we'll kind of dive into that now. Health is big. We've seen a couple guys go down. We don't know, I guess, necessarily, unless you know something I don't about Micah and D Law and what have you. But again, health is the key to this league. So again, too early to tell. I think this Sunday's a huge game. 3-2 is a whole lot different than 2-3.
Yep. Yeah, especially after the start and getting another road win in a tough environment against that defense, against that personnel. TJ Watt, starting with him and Hightower, but the way that they line up multiple all over the place, that's going to be a big test for Tyler Guyton. That's going to be a big test, for Terrence Steele on both sides. Like, they're going to test both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So right off the bat, that's not only a concern for Dak in the pass game, but also for what we're able to do in the run game. I mean, those guys are also some of the best in the league at setting the edge. That's what makes them so good on both sides. So matchup wise, I think, I'll just throw this out there. They're going to have to they're going to have to really be creative to the opponent the way that they opened up the Browns game with
Mm-hmm.
rolling pockets, a lot of motion, more motion than we saw the rest of the season, honestly. But they were doing that to avoid Myles Garrett. Like, now, to me, you got to have an approach like that to attack this Steelers defense.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, I think in our last video, like some of these organizations, that is like their staple. Like Pittsburgh is like you don't run the ball on us, much less go up the middle. Like that's just what it is. It's been like that since Roethlisberger was in the Super Bowls before that, honestly. But a couple stats I want to talk about real quick. Cowboys offense last week, 1 sack taken, 28 pass attempts, 14.3% quarterback pressure. Pretty good, honestly. Kept that clean for the most part. Again, like you said, the key one-on-ones, Terrence Steele and TJ Watt and Tyler Guyton. I mean, Tomlin's going to, be multiple, always kind of has been. I don't remember a time really in my entire life where I've seen the Steelers play and been like, yeah, they're bad on the front seven. I can't recall. And then again, kind of flipping over really quickly, they run the ball and they have a three-headed monster with Cordell Patterson, who, he did leave the game with an injury last week, but was still a 7 yards a carry guy. Obviously, you have Najee Harris, and then you have Justin Fields that has been named the starter officially, and you're going to have to deal with. And in my opinion, probably the best quarterback that the Cowboys have faced other than Lamar Jackson so far. So we'll see. Matchup wise, it probably doesn't favor the Cowboys. I think if there is a game to get the Steelers, I feel comfortable coming off of a Giants game where you did handle them rushing the football very well. Your best defensive rushing performance up until this point. Now, I think you would be pretty hard pressed to say the Steelers aren't better than the Giants. That's just not the case. They are better than the Giants, especially at running the football. So, again, it's going to be interesting to see what Zimmer and co draw up to really stop this rushing attack, especially when you can do it in so many different ways.
Yeah, I mean, and you want to dictate the pace of the game too. I think you want to have some, we always talk about the starts of these games. I think with the Cowboys, it's important to try to play the way that you can win, which is typically getting out to a 7-3, 14-3 type lead early in the game, to manipulate how game flow goes, your pass rushing opportunities. Because I think if we get into a situation where Pittsburgh's they're one of those teams that they're like down like 9-6 at halftime, and then they just go and pull the thing out like 20-17 or something like that. So I think the Cowboys, it is pertinent, because like last week the Colts put points up and started making the Steelers have to play almost outside of themselves. Dallas needs to follow that same script. Even I know they're on the road. I know it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I don't like the matchup like you're saying. If we're playing just straight up like we have against the Giants, and what I felt we played real straight up against the Ravens.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, like you said about the matchup, there were some other stats that I saw earlier. The Steelers are going to want to get out to a big lead. The Cowboys are one of the worst teams in the NFL coming from behind. Not only last year to the second half of the season, but this year so far. I think we rank something like 28th in the league, and coming back by a margin of like 6 or more. Some crazy analytics like that. But bottom line is, we can't pin our ears back and go get the quarterback, go get anybody, especially if we get down from that big lead. And with our rushing attack being suspect, on the offensive side of the ball. And I know Rico was 4.5 a carry last week. I still, the jury's still out on our rushing attack.
I think better.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's safe to say. You just kind of don't know what you're going to get. And I see this game as if, the Cowboys are down, 14, 17, nothing at half. It's going to be really, really tough to come back just because everybody knows what you're doing. So it's difficult if they get down early, like you said.
Yeah. Is this a game where we could see the young man, Ryan Flanoy, where he's out there, trying to give you something vertically? Because, at this point, he's the one that has the athletic traits in the room and whatnot. So does he help you potentially in a game like this?
Maybe. And I think we talked about it even last week. First down, I don't know if I've ever seen, maybe I just pay attention to the Cowboys too much. I don't know if I've ever seen a team where first down dictates how the entire drive is going to go. It's crazy. I almost feel like if it's a gain of 8 or more, or just a straight up first down to first down, you feel so good. But if it's like a, inside zone gain of 1 or a loss, it's like they're punting. Like it's just
penalty.
100%. And it's crazy. We talked about it last week too. They just got to get to the 50 and they have an automatic 3 points every single time. Now I know he missed one late. He's human. Which shocked me, by the way. When Brandon Aubrey missed that kick, I was like, okay, he's not a robot.
The coach could have also called a timeout.
100%. 100% was a little rushed into that. But essentially, you are asking, I know, touchdowns trump field goals any day, all day, but you're essentially asking your offense, can you guys get 30 yards, please? Can you just get 30 yards consistently? And again, like you said, the Steelers kind of like those 9-6, 12-9 games where, 3 field goals, that's over a possession. So, again, I think it's first down is going to dictate this one 100%. I don't know if they change anything schematically. I would personally be shocked if they get your boy downfield going. I mean, I almost feel like they like Turpin more vertically. At least they've tried it. Okay. Now my thoughts on that, but it's pretty low percentage regardless. Again, and it all goes back to how many true weapons do you have? And if you're being honest with yourself, On a good day, you say 1.5. I know Ferg was good last week, 7 targets, 7 receptions, 50 something yards. I mean, he's reliable, but again, that true downfield presence, it's yet to be seen.
Yeah. Well, and these games too with Dak, I always worry about some of these real high level safeties. They always seem to find their way to get one. I mean,
Hmm.
we were good against Kyle Hamilton. I don't think he was ever in a
Yeah.
position to get anything, but Honey Badger got one on us. And I'm thinking about Minka, who kind of still, goes between safety and the slot and kind of lurks a little bit.
Yep.
Just, something to keep an eye on as well, especially when we're in a situation where we're really trying to jam the ball down the field with people that are supposed to be right here and, they drift or whatever. And we're throwing in these extremely tight windows. Those are some of the things I worry about too. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's a top 10 defense according to PFF and according to Team Rank and a bunch of other publications. I mean, they're pretty much top 6 in every metric, holding opponents to 13 points a game, holding opponents to 260 total yards a game, about 4 yards a play. I mean, I think opposing third down conversion rate is like 28%. I mean, they're not going to give you anything essentially. Like you're going to have to earn every point you get. But again, when you have a weapon, I can't believe we're talking about a kicker at 8:50 on a Thursday morning. But when you have a kicker as talented as Brandon Aubrey, like let him cook. I mean, seriously, that should keyword should take the pressure off of the offense and know, hey, if you guys don't score every drive, it's okay. We're still ending in points. Let's just take care of the football. And when you don't take care of the football, that's where I think where the Steelers can really take advantage of you, just those stolen possessions.
right. So, I think they gotta. It'll be a very interesting football game where we learn a lot from this team. How you see the rest of the division at this point? Because Philly is. It looks like they're a mess right now,
A mess.
um, and the Giants might even be feeling better than they do. Who knows? And then obviously Washington is starting to get. They feel like they're. This is 2012 again for them over there with Jaden Daniels right now. So I'm curious to see, you know, how we respond when we ultimately match up with them. But just to kind of end off here, like, how are you feeling about division? How we kind of match up right now with the rest of these teams.
I think it's safe to say it's the weakest division in football, in my opinion. And I'm not going to apologize for that in the NFL. But again, I'm looking at Washington's schedule when you said that. They're going to beat the Browns this Sunday. They're going to feel good about that. Then it gets a little tougher for them. They got to go to Baltimore. That's going to be probably their Jaden's first real test, I think. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from the young man. He's been awesome. He's been
That's a rivalry game up there too.
Sure. He's been way better than expected. I mean, he's kind of made me raise my eyebrows when I've watched him. I'm like, okay, this could be a problem. I mean, other than, Jalen Hurts, which, he leads the league in turnovers, something the last 12 or 13 games or some odd stat like that. But I was even going to kind of kick it to you. When's the last time we've had a guy in our division at the quarterback position for either New York, Philly, or Washington that we're like, oh man, we got to deal with this guy for years? I mean, it's been a long, long time, right? For both squads. There hasn't been a Donovan McNabb. There hasn't been a Eli Manning. There hasn't been a steady guy in Washington in years. So it's scary. It's scary hours for sure as a Cowboy fan. But you're right in the thick of it. And if you take care of business, win these division games, you're going to get a playoff spot. If you win your division games, you're going to be in the playoffs. And
Right.
at the end of the day, that's all we can ask is for a shot at the dance.
Well, in order to get there, this is kind of the opportunity in front of us with Micah, D-Law gone, guys like Marshawn Nealon, right? It's the KJ Henry kid that's coming up from the practice squad. Mozzie Smith, can he continue the momentum and give us what he gave us, right? Those younger guys, even Overshown, can he continue to give me more snaps and work? Those are some of the things I'm really paying attention to as well from a developmental standpoint that can even be better, can help this defense grow when our mainstays come back.
Yeah, I mean, Mozzie heard me last week. I called him out by name. I said we weren't getting anything from him. He proved me wrong. Shout out Mozzie. Great game. Keep it going. This is what we drafted you for. This is what first rounders do. So again, we would like to see your services at that elevated level. Again, big fella. So salute to him. But no, Overshown's been balling. Some of those young guys making some plays. I'm encouraged. Right now, we just need to see it on a consistent basis.
Yep. Well, young guys, look out. The next thing I think we got to focus on is the backs. So we'll see how the backs look again before we, comment on that after the Steelers game. But Austin, it was a pleasure. I appreciate you coming on, talking ball. I do think, we'll have a lot more concrete, answers to the questions that we asked beforehand, especially with this roster coming out of what we learned from this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So
yeah, benchmark week. This is the benchmark week. You're 2-2. Again, 2-3 is very different than 3-2. This is a team with a pulse, more than likely a playoff team. Good idea to kind of know where we're at after this game.
Awesome. Well, we'll be back next week, folks. Appreciate you guys. Hit that like button, subscribe, the whole bit. We out. Peace.